Hi everyone, I'm here with my favorite adult beverage, rum and coke, in a dirty mug. And like many of you, I'm waiting for the next move in this endless Memo controversy. And also, like you, I'm probably perplexed that until now, until that is today, people did not pay so much attention to this clown known as Adam Schiff. Um, so before I get to him, I'd like to let you know that in the description of this video, I have several links to a number of issues that are going on. First of all, I have 5 videos that you might want to check out. Actually, I forgot the link to one of them, so that's kind of on me, but I'll fix that later. But my new video exposing Joyanne Reed's lie about MS-13 has, I wouldn't say it's gone viral, but it's gotten more following than most videos that I've had up for a while. And I also have all the links to follow me on social media or various sites, including my blog. I should add that there is a new story coming out tomorrow, probably, that I wrote for Hard News Network. If you don't know them, go subscribe to them. Hard News Network or the Hard Bastard. I'd like to welcome familiar guy Augusto Pinochet to the chat. As Sweet Speaks, I think I know you from the Anthony Logan show, so welcome. And I think I follow you on Twitter, so yeah, very interesting stuff. And he's dealing with migrant crisis in Europe that's a bit different from ours because it's coming from North Africa and parts like that. I think he's from Norway or something. He lives in Norway, but he's Swedish. Now, Adam Schiff, before we get to the Memo stuff, there was an episode today where at Sal Castro Middle School in LA, a 12-year-old girl accidentally shot 4 people after bringing a gun to school. So, of course, this is in Los Angeles, and whose constituency is there? Adam Schiff. So he issued a tweet, and I'll read it off to you. He issued a tweet saying, "I'm horrified and heartbroken to hear of yet another school shooting, this one close to home at Sal Castro Middle School in Los Angeles. Thinking of the victims and their families, I'm determined as ever to fight for gun safety legislation to protect our schools and communities." But there's really nothing. I mean, first of all, it's already illegal to bring a gun to school. There's nothing that you can do to really change. I mean, it's been that way ever since I can remember. Let's look it up for Los Angeles. That's something I didn't it's something I didn't really look up. So California. Let me see here. Gun laws in California. Okay, so the gun laws of California are some of the most restrictive in the United States. A 5-year firearm safety certificate obtained by paying a $25 fee, submission of applicant data to the state, and passing a written test proctored by a Department of Justice certified instructor. Holy shit. Is required for the sale, delivery, loan, or transfer of any firearm. Handguns sold by dealers must be quote-unquote California legal by being listed on the state's roster of handguns certified for sale. This roster, which requires handgun manufacturers to pay a fee and submit specific models for safety testing has become progressively more stringent over time, and it's currently the subject of a federal civil rights lawsuit on the basis that is a de facto ban on new handgun models. So they're trying basically to ban any new handguns from coming out. Yeah. Oh, you're in the Midwest? Yeah, maybe one day we can, chat about that because I'm from the Midwest. Midwest people are pretty good. Not like those assholes down in in California and the West and the West Coast. Anyway, California already has pretty stringent gun laws, but yet there is plenty of crime. Because why? Because they don't want to enforce the border laws. Okay, and let me see here. Let's look up gun crime in California. So this was from 2014. California's gun-related homicide rate up, reversing years of decline. This was from 2014 for Sacramento. Okay. Now, that might seem a bit of cherry picking, but it says here, October 7th, 2017. This is from U.S. News and World Report. It says that, here we go, California's gun-related homicide rate is up. New state figures show more people were killed with guns in California last year than in any other year since 2008. New state figures show the rate of people killed with guns in California went up last year, reversing years of decline that began in 2008. There were 1,368 gun-related homicides in 2016, up by about 200 from 2014, when such killings fell to a historic low. Well, that kind of sounds strange because the previous article said they were up in 2014. The California Department of Justice said, but so their own Department of Justice is claiming that their homicide rate went up. So that's a 15% increase in the gun-related homicide rate, which is just for population changes. The state figures showed guns were used in 72% of California homicides last year, while the number of homicides using other weapons fell slightly from 2015 to 2016. The spike in gun-related homicides reflects a national trend, and it comes as gun sales go up. So this is where they start to be misleading. Because they're talking about legal gun sales. But if I was going to commit a murder, a murder for financial gain, a gangland murder or whatever, I wouldn't use a legal firearm. I think when legal firearms are used in a murder, it's probably a crime when, a spouse is killed or something like that. It's not really that, maybe a stolen legal firearm, if anything. So you have this professor, she says, certainly since the Sandy Hook school shooting in 2012, there's been a large number of gun sales. And I think that the fear that there may be some gun control that might restrict gun buying has hugely made a difference in gun sales, said Jenny Singer, an associate professor in the Division of Criminal Justice at California State University, Sacramento. The more guns that are simply available physically on the streets and in the community, the more gun violence there will be. Well, the real question, and this doesn't go in depth, the real question is, where are they getting these firearms? If they're getting them from legal vendors, then then there would be a point. Then you would have to concede something. But this doesn't describe whether illegal gun crimes are being prosecuted in California, which is something I've talked about more in reference to Chicago and St. Louis and the Midwest than with California. So let's do a little more exploration. So most of this What's going on here? San Jose Mercury News. This is from Opinion Guy. He says, last year, California's legislature and voters enacted a veritable blizzard of legislation making private gun ownership more difficult and expensive, including new restrictions on magazine capacity and ammunition sales. Governor Jerry Brown rejected some of the anti-gun bills sent to his desk. Nevertheless, the political crusade against guns was so intense that surrogates for two of the state's leading politicians, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom and Senate President pro tem Kevin De Leon, exchanged fusillades of harsh words as the two vied for political command. So they're fighting with each other over who's going to be the anti-gun guy. It might have had something to do with the fact that Newsom was already running for governor and De Leon was earnestly looking for another rung on the political ladder. He announced this week that he's running for U.S. Senate. The new gun laws enhanced California's status, for better or worse, of having the nation's tightest restrictions on the purchase and use of firearms. However, what politicians and voters through a Newsom-sponsored ballot measure wrought last year didn't really cut down on the number of guns. So this is San Jose Mercury News. This isn't Breitbart. This isn't, people say, oh, you're such a right-wing crackpot with your InfoWars. I watch InfoWars so I can, laugh at something. It's funny. It's good. It's pro wrestling. Paul Joseph Watson, true artist, Owen Schroyer. But this is the San Jose Mercury News. And they're saying, and here I'll show you the screen for a few seconds, but we're not going to read the whole thing. I'm sorry I don't have the link up, but maybe you can see it at the top. But in any case, as usual, such actions it encouraged Californians to buy even more guns and stock up on ammunition before the new rules took effect. Californians have been legally adding about 1.5 million firearms to their personal arsenals each year, according to the FBI and State Department of Justice data. A visitor to one of the state's many gun shows will find patrons emerging with cases of ammunition to counter anticipated ammo rules. As usual, too, the new laws were enacted on the assertion that they would reduce gun violence by preventing those inclined to use weapons to injure or threaten from obtaining them. However, the wave of legal purchases and simple logic tell us that new gun laws have their greatest effect on law-abiding shooters, not those bent on criminal or violent misuse. Gang members and other gun criminals, by their nature, don't make legal purchases. Rather, they acquire weapons and ammo surreptitiously in ways that don't leave paper trails of ownership. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that if you want to commit a crime and get away with it, you don't use something that's been documented to be owned by you. Having enacted so many new gun laws last year, state legislators were hard put to find new restrictions to pass this year. Only a handful of relatively minor new gun laws were passed and signed by Brown. One of them induces head-scratching bewilderment. Assembly Bill 424 by Democratic Assemblyman Kevin McCarty of Sacramento removes the power of local school authorities or to allow someone to legally carry a gun on school grounds. So that they can't even hire a security guard. Do you realize how retarded this is? Who the fuck is messaging me right now? Oh. It's aimed at a tiny number of schools where teachers with training and valid concealed weapons permits have been allowed to carry guns so that they can protect their students in the horrific event of a school shooting incident. With the new law, any deranged person bent on slaughtering children will now know for certain there will be no armed resistance inside school grounds. While we ponder the logic of Assembly Bill 424, we should consider another bill Brown signed, Senate Bill 620 by Senator Steve Bradford, a Democrat from Gardena. It repeals a long-standing penal code section that requires extra years behind bars for anyone using a gun to commit a crime and leaves such enhancements to the future discretion of judges. So on one hand, Brown and the legislature make it more difficult for a teacher to protect children against gun-wielding criminals, while on the other, they reduce potential penalties for gun-wielding criminals. Go figure. So this is the same type of approach they take in Chicago and in other, basically Democrat-ruled urban environments. They say, can you buy a gun legally? No, fuck you. But if you commit a crime illegal with an illegal firearm or with any firearm and go to prison, well, we don't want to perpetuate the prison industrial complex. So you can get out of there. So in reality, it gives no consequences for gun crime. Gun crime in their minds is really a creation of the firearms industry. It's not a creation of the people who terrorize their neighbors, their family. Sometimes, I'm not gonna. That those of us that do believe in the Second Amendment, we're not saying that people don't commit horrific acts of crime with guns. But in many cases, if they didn't have a gun, they would do it otherwise. There was a doctor here in my area that poisoned his wife. Um, things like that happen. Are guns a problem in society? When you, there's a lot of violent people out there. Yeah, but the laws are not going to solve them, and that's why many of us do oppose more gun laws. That they haven't solved anything, especially when they're not being enforced. Sweet Speaks asks, am I using Google Hangouts to live stream? Yes, I am. I'm not always happy about it, but it's the easiest way. We have Pinochet and Joseph Stalin here. It might seem that you guys are collaborating on something that's a little surprising. Seems like you guys are getting along with the Sweet Speaks, though. Yeah, guys, I want you guys to have like good questions and debates. Get into like your own community. A lot of you probably know each other anyway, so I mean, who gives a fuck? A lot of us meet on different live streams. I've met some people that now watch my channel on the Lionel Nation live stream, and I hope you can bring other people to me. My video with Joanne Reed, which is the one I've had. I haven't had as many views on any other video besides my CNN blackmail video since so this one is kind of blown up to a certain extent. So I want you guys to maybe put it in your queue, watch it, share it with your friends, because it gives 3 examples of Joanne Reed's lie just being purely on its face false about the MS-13 issue being a creation of Fox News. Fox News has nothing to do with it. There was a report by MSNBC in 2006 about it that called it a national security threat, and she works for MSNBC. And then there are documentaries by I believe it was either Discovery Channel or Nat Geo, National Geographic, and so there's that one, and then there's another one by the History Channel. So we're talking about a group that's known. Those people that are interested in the topic of gang violence know about MS-13. And for the record, and I know I'm kind of belaboring the point about Adam Schiff and gun control because he had that ridiculous tweet, but people have to keep them accountable for this. This is a person, he represents a district with a large number of Latino Americans. Those of them that are citizens here, they deserve either the right to bear arms or a safe community, or both. I would say both, right? Why not? Adam Schiff is like, I'll pass some more fucking laws. That'll teach you how to have a safer community. No, because somebody who is so blatantly against the letter and spirit of our laws and our Constitution, like Adam Schiff, there's no chance they can bring about a safer and freer society. And safer and freer means that we give people the ability to make decisions for themselves while identifying issues that could harm their physical safety and dealing with them. And gang violence is one of them. Illegal immigration is an issue that threatens the physical safety of a lot of Americans. It threatens the physical safety of a lot of migrants, by the way, too. Some of these people, they come across the border, they die in overheated trucks. But that's the America that Schiff and his idiots want. Okay, I'm not somebody. I work with a lot of people from Latin America. They're fantastic people. I have worked with people from all over Latin America. since probably the age of no, not 15, but 17. And there's good people and bad people like anywhere else. But the idea that we are benefiting them by bringing them to this country, first of all, we're fucking their country up more because all of the ambitious people are coming here. And second of all, we are creating a labor crisis in this country. There's a lot of people who live here who need to be in the workforce, who aren't in the workforce because we create a dependency. And then we bring other people in that are willing to work like slaves in order to do the jobs that the rest of Americans don't want to do. And that is not the type of economy of a country that long term is going to be prosperous and have a cohesive national identity. Just going to keep getting divided. It did get divided. That's how we've gotten to where we are today. And if Donald Trump has to be the person to reunite the country, I don't care. I'm fine with him being the leader who deals with this, because somebody has to. So that shooting, let's do five more minutes on this, because I know you guys probably came here to talk about the memo and about Adam Schiff and the memo and Devin Nunes. But here it says 2 students were shot at Salvador Castro Middle School, 1 in critical condition. The 12-year-old girl is in custody. This report basically says almost nothing. It's just a bunch of hysterical people, crying about the shooting, understandably, because it's their children, but it gives very little information. For example, things I would like to know: was this a handgun? Was the handgun, single acting? Right? Was it, or was it, was it semi-auto? What was the nature of the weapon used in the attack? Because if it was just a handgun, then Adam Schiff has very little to complain about. A lot of the talked about legislation has to do with quote unquote assault rifles, and if it was not an assault rifle, then what the hell does he have to complain about? Basically, he's trying to say, well, we need more gun control legislation, regardless of what happened. So ultimately, what that leads to is banning other gun control, or banning firearms altogether, banning handguns, banning hunting rifles, for example. That's what will ultimately happen, because these people they don't care about the actual principle in this issue. They like it as a wedge issue. Hopefully they would like to ban some of these guns, because it's not like they give a shit. They can hire private security once in a while whenever they need it, whenever they step out of their Four Seasons lifestyle, where they have a bunch of civil servants wiping their asses. They don't care. It's fine for them. They don't know anybody who owns a gun, probably. They live in the rarefied air of successful liberal accomplishment, probably went to Ivy League schools. Not like people who actually have owned firearms. Not that I'm saying that rich people don't own firearms, but they're removed from the topic. It's a painless change for them. And it even says in this article, the enrollment is 92% Latino, and most students are from low-income families. So 92% chance that this girl who is 12 years old, and this was an accident, this was not a deliberate shooting, 92% chance that she's a Latina. Okay, so we're not talking about the whole myth of the white male gun nut that's going bonkers in a school. Okay, unless somebody from the other 8% did it, and the other 8% isn't necessarily white people. It could be some Korean guy, Korean girl, or whatever. But the odds are 92% odds that this 12-year-old girl is Latina. And if this was an accident, yes, she's stupid, but we're not here we're not here to demonize this shooter if it was indeed an accident. We're here to realize that in this world of increased gun legislation in California, people who should not be having guns are still managed to get guns. Well, Jiminy Willikers, as James Comey would say. Uh, Gosh darn it, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how is it. I mean, we had laws. How did the guns get into their hands? I mean, well, I guess in Sweden they have anti-grenade laws, but for some reason there's fucking grenade attacks all the fucking time. I'm kind of riffing off of Sweet Speaks, who's here, because I've never seen him on a chat before. Welcome, Chris. Da, da, da. Floyd and Pink, welcome back. I've seen a couple of your comments. He's asking what was the last concert I went to. I think he's asking me. The truth is I don't go to a lot of concerts. I just listen to a lot of different types of music. But the last one I went to was Van Halen in 2015, I want to say. It was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. So we have all these statistics. We have, MacArthur Park. I have this, I'm just going to show you the screen once more. Not going to read through it. There's this question: why doesn't MacArthur Park gentrify? Good question. I mean, why doesn't it gentrify? The LA Times is asking this question: why this neighborhood, this shithole neighborhood in LA, doesn't gentrify? Well, maybe I'll ask somebody from LA, but I want to assume that, okay, let's not assume, but there are issues here. I misspelled gangs. I spelled it with an M. The last paragraph, it says, this disconnect shapes the politics of our country to the detriment of individual lives. And in the case of MacArthur Park, LA's collective future, when ownership and care of a community is constantly at stake, with tensions between landlords and residents, between gangs, between the city and community task forces, the people of Westlake, which is where this high school was, from the family strolling to ice cream trucks for an after-dinner snack on Sunday, to my neighbor who left early every morning at 4 a.m. for work, his truck backfiring as he pulled away, to Fernando rotating. Well, anyway, they acknowledge that there is a gang problem in this neighborhood. So Adam Schiff, the problem isn't the fucking guns; it's the gangs that use them. And it's possible that this girl, if she brought a gun to school, she could already be involved in a juvenile gang in middle school. So why don't you think that that's a problem? And who's to say? I mean, let's can we start speculating? Is this girl of legal status in the United States of America? Could that be a problem? And instead of focusing on issues like that are relevant to the Latino community, because who gets shot in these gangland feuds? It very rarely is rich white people. It's actually, in many cases, people in proximity. So instead of focusing on that, they focus on not insulting people. On the funniest is that Latin X thing. If you guys have ever seen Latin X, they say that you don't call them Latino or Latina. It's Latin X. Haha. Why are people using the term Latin X? Says, no, it's not a typo. Yes, Latinx is in fact a word, one many people identify with for more reasons than if you've. So it says it's a gender neutral alternative to Latino, Latina, and even Latinat, used by scholars, activists, and an increasing number of journalists. So they want gender neutral Spanish. Well, I'll tell you something. The people who don't use gender neutral Spanish are the people walking into this country from Mexico. So shut the fuck up and solve a problem that actually exists. Why would you try to change a language for people that you claim that you're culturally appropriating their things, and that it's like a snake swallowing its own tail. That's what this social justice garbage is. This is from Huffington Post. Okay, why people are using the term Latinx. So enough of that. Enough of the Schiff idiocy with regards to Los Angeles. And it's on to, can somebody put onto the chat, what is the most burning issue of today? Okay. I will take a glance in a second. But what would you say is the most burning issue right now? Floyd says, Dude Van Halen, jealous. Swede Speak says, hand grenades are not defined as weapons in Sweden. Parliament voted on defining them as illegal weapons. Huh. I think you missed my sarcasm. Peeing in the shower. That's right. Herpes. 23andMe is confusing everything. Yeah. According to DNA set testing, Sweetspeak says I'm a tiny part Iberian. I guess I should check Hispanic on all forms then. You know, about a month and a half ago, you guys probably remember. I mean, I still cough every once in a while, but I was coughing like fucking all the time on these videos, and in general, I'd be at work and I'd be, hacking away like some sort of coal miner. So I went to urgent care, and they give you a form and they ask, race, religion, and whatever. And for race, I just put, only God knows, because what the hell do they need to know my race for? And in truth, I mean, I'm actually half Middle Eastern. So in reality, I don't know what my race is, and frankly, I don't. I mean, I don't really see what the hubbub would be about. I mean, what do you guys think I am? I mean, you can enter your comments in the chat. Some people have said I look Mexican or something. So the real topic for today, I know your sarcastic answers are in keeping with the spirit of this podcast, but in all seriousness, it is the release the memo issue. Okay, Pinochet says Jewish. Well, Jewish is not really a race, so to speak, but yeah, I am Jewish. But I mean, talking about nationality wise, so what would you think it is? I mean, people have said all sorts of things. Swede Speaks, that's a bingo. That's exactly what I am. Very perceptive. Exactly. Well, Sephardic technically is I'm a Mizrahi, half Mizrahi from Iraq. But yeah, that's very, very perceptive. Chris Jones says Mexican isn't a race either. Latinx is their racing of the Native American ex-colonial. No, Latinx is bullshit. There's nothing about it. Floyd in Pink says Ugandan. And Larry Gerke says American bro. So yeah. I mean, it's but to me, I really don't care. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to be, edgy or something, but I really sometimes I wonder really where does it come into play? I mean, why should I care what race this is that I was born into? And I understand for some people it is a bit a bit annoying, but some people, they struggle with their racial identity, but for me it seems kind of like a futile exercise. Washington Examiner: Trump expected to release the Nunes memo without redactions, White House says. And it says President Trump is expected to approve the release of a classified memo spearheaded by the staff of House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes. According to a Thursday afternoon pool report, a White House official confirmed upon arrival to West Virginia that the president has read the memo. Trump will declassify the controversial 4-page memo that reportedly details surveillance abuses by the Department of Justice and FBI and send it back to House Intelligence for a Friday morning release. The president is okay with it. A senior administration official told reporters, I doubt that there will be any redactions. It's in Congress' hands after that. Um, hold on. Let me show you this screen so you can read along. I am going to read through this one because this is really the topic that we are talking about today. I did lead with the idiocy of Adam Schiff to prove that it's not just the Russia investigation that he's an idiot about. He's an idiot also concerning immigration and concerning gun control. He's a complete idiot. There's no other way to describe it. The president, so Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, sent a letter to Nunes late Wednesday alleging him. It shouldn't say alleging him. It should say alleging that he secretly altered the memo before sharing it with the White House. Those changes, Schiff said, were not approved by the full committee as per protocol. As spokesman for the House Intelligence Committee conceded that small edits were made, but dismissed the minority party's complaints as an attempt to create a bizarre distraction from the abuses detailed in the memo. The version, excuse me, the version Trump plans to declassify contains only, quote, technical edits made at the request of the FBI. FBI Director Christopher Wray opposes release of the memo, and the Bureau said in a rare public statement Wednesday it had grave concerns about the memo's accuracy. Trump was caught on a hot mic Tuesday night telling Representative Jeff Duncan he would 100% release the memo, and the president's chief of staff, John Kelly, said during a radio interview early Wednesday that he thinks the memo will be released here pretty quick. By invoking an obscure congressional rule Monday night, GOP lawmakers were able to vote along party lines to release the memo, sending it to the president and giving him a maximum of 5 days to explicitly object to the memo's release. So, some analysis on this, since we're nearing, the time I heard is that at 7 a.m. it will be published. Now I'm going to do some analysis from some reactions today. Now, one of the earliest reactions I heard was from Hugh Hewitt in the morning. He has this show on the radio. And Hugh Hewitt, for those of you who don't know, is a neocon and a huge, he was a never Trumper. Nowadays, he's kind of a mild never Trumper, not as much of a vocal dumbass as Bill Kristol, who's honestly, I don't know why he wakes up in the morning anymore, because he's been proven to be a complete buffoon. But anyway, Hugh Hewitt was trying to say, well, it's hard to believe that there will be anything important in this, and what about the credibility, and I trust the FBI and bullshit like that. And it's that type of speech that I hear from people like him. This is a person who also used to vouch for Jim Comey being, a dedicated Catholic and a Boy Scout and whatever. And he was talking, he actually invoked the names of people who are in the FBI and Department of Justice, saying that he believes their credibility on his radio show today. Now, okay, fine. If he wants to say that, good for him. How many times were we told that these agencies are trustworthy and that we should believe them, and they've turned out to be completely false? The war in Iraq, I wasn't a huge Iraq war opponent back in the day, but I was, in high school. So there were clear signs that there was missing evidence, that there were gaps in the narrative of in that case, the CIA and other foreign intelligence agencies. But we were told, we have to trust them. This is the system, national security, war on terror, whatever. No, it did not turn out to be verifiable. We have no clue to this day whether Saddam Hussein had chemical and biological weapons in Iraq. And that's a significant failure on the part of the intelligence agencies, and they should have apologized years ago for that, but nobody held them accountable. Now fast forward to today, and the same thing's happening with domestic surveillance and those issues. They've lied about it in front of Congress. There was the James Clapper testimony in front of Congress, where I think it was even before the Snowden revelations, when he was claiming, well, we don't conduct domestic surveillance on social media and other digital accounts of civilians. And then Snowden revealed that it was a complete falsehood. Was James Clapper held accountable? Was he indicted for perjury? Because he said that under oath to Congress. No, he was never held accountable for that. And then there's the Clinton scandal, which we've talked about plenty of times. You know, let's leave that for other days because it's not entirely in the spirit of what we're going to talk about today. Because you know, we can let's focus a little more on what's going on here. Jeez. The FBI has, in my mind, lost all structural credibility, and there were even rumors today that Christopher Wray, the new director of the FBI, he was appointed over the summer to replace Comey. He might resign due to the releasing of the memo. Now, I suspect that he feels like resigning, not necessarily because of the, you know, in solidarity with these people who work for him, or because you know, he's so pissed off at Trump, but because he might end up being the only person within 2 miles of FBI headquarters in Quantico, Virginia, who doesn't end up getting some sort of indictment or other legal action against him due to the memo. And that would be pretty funny if he shows up to work, he's the only one there because everybody else is, you know, in court or whatever. That would be a pretty funny situation. You could write movies about it. And he knows that this memo could affect the actual function of the FBI. But unfortunately, you know, that's what has to happen. The FBI has to be completely reformed from, I mean, I don't know if it's a top down, because we're not talking necessarily about the lower ranking agents. We're talking almost exclusively about high ranking agents like Peter Strzok. They abused their powers given to them by virtue of their position with a federal law enforcement agency in order to perpetrate illegal surveillance programs on American citizens. And you know, for Christopher Wray or anybody else in the FBI to think that that is something that should be, you know, given a mulligan, just ignored, that shows that they're not serious about actually enforcing the laws of the country. That's something. I mean, Donald Trump. Now you can disagree with the laws. For example, with the immigration laws, he's been trying to help to force DHS to enforce those laws, but those laws are still laws. And you know, I disagree with Jeff Sessions' decision. Oh, we're going to enforce marijuana laws federally. Yeah, I hate the decision, but if you look at it technically, he has something to stand on. That's why you write your congressman and you tell them, please, we want to reform the drug laws. We want to decriminalize recreational substances and specifically marijuana. But you know, the fact that he's enforcing the laws should not be surprising. That should be the way that this country works. And some of these other commentators throughout the day, they've been saying, well, this will jeopardize the relationship between the FBI and the presidency, and this will affect national security. And then there was Adam Schiff claiming that, you know, first of all, that it could compromise intelligence sources and methods, or he said that they altered the information, even though so far it hasn't been revealed that they altered the information. They just made like a couple, you know, copy edits. Yeah, we're talking about a memo that must be released now. Why do I think that they're so scared of this? Okay, I've been thinking about it, and there's a few reasons for this. So the FBI is definitely afraid that there will be revealed information from testimony behind closed doors by their agents that could reveal perjury and other acts of illegal procedure in the Mueller and FBI investigations of Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, whichever one's in question. Okay, so there could be illegal acts committed by these people, such as Comey, such as Andrew McCabe, his deputy director, such as Strzok and Page and everybody. And these are things that have been a lot of these things are probably known to some degree or another. They just haven't been made official and public. Um, one thing that I would say would be a huge bombshell is if the FISA surveillance um, warrant was issued after Peter Strzok stated that he didn't believe the contents of the Russia dossier, the one that, the allegations against Trump regarding Russia, then yes, that would be a serious violation of the FISA court mandates, because it would mean that they took evidence that many of them did not believe was credible, and they said, well, give us a warrant anyway. They just didn't tell the judge, and that is a breach of confidence of the court. Now, I don't know what statute that fits under. I'm not a lawyer. If one of you is a lawyer, go ahead and tell me. But it will be seen as a betrayal of the confidence of the court. There's forms that you fill out when you request these surveillance warrants. And if it's revealed that you had intelligence that's basically bogus, what made up crap, basically, let's say you took the plot of like some anime film and said, oh, this guy, he's Dragon Ball Zing all over the world. He's some sort of national security threat. He's going to zap the entire world. Well, I'm sorry, no. You don't get a FISA warrant if you present it that way. But if they don't disclose that it's fake intelligence, then yeah, there's going to be hell to pay. Now I'll tell I'll tell you a different issue that's coming up. Another issue why Democrats, and in particular Adam Schiff, should be pretty scared. So yesterday I didn't really troll. I was kind of just following along his feed, and some of his people were asking, why are they going to release this memo? It's bullshit. But yeah, there's a lot of people trolling him. Maybe this wasn't Adam Schiff that I was looking at, because I think most of his replies are trolls. So I could be wrong. Let me see if I can find it. I think they made a hashtag out of it. Let's see here. So this has been running for a while too. It's called Release the Transcripts. And they're asking, why aren't they releasing the transcripts from Donald Trump Jr.'s testimony? And that could be a very big, double-edged sword for the Democrats, because what they're trying to say is the memo is a bunch of out of context edited crap that doesn't really reflect the true findings of the committee. Okay. This is mostly from January 24th. And you even see people who are saying, Representative Adam Schiff, please pull a Feinstein and release the Dem memo. The GOP is not following the law. We cannot play this game anymore. So understand what some of these people are asking for. They're saying the Republican memo is illegal because it exposes the FBI, which is trying to investigate Donald Trump, which they're claiming, who they're claiming committed a crime that they can't name because they don't know what it is. So they're saying that it's illegal for the Republican House members to release the memo through a legal process of exposure to members of Congress, and then voting on its release to the public, and then letting the president object to the release or not. And then, but that's a legal process. That's a legally defined process for declassifying and releasing information to the public that's given in congressional testimony. Okay, so it is a legal process. They're claiming it's illegal because it undermines an investigation. It doesn't matter if it undermines any investigation. It's the legal process for releasing information. So what are they saying? They're saying, you know, Paula Diane Feinstein, who did illegally release a transcript of closed testimony in Congress, she leaked testimony illegally. And they're saying, oh, Representative Adam Schiff should release his memo illegally, without going through the congressional process I just described. And, that'll show them, by doing their illegal thing, we have to get back at them. We have to do something illegal because they did something illegal, even though it actually is legal. That's they've completely lost the concept of what is the law and what is, their feelings. Because for them, their concept of justice is their desires. It has nothing to do with what's actually in the rules. So they're not only calling for that, which I just described, which is releasing the Democratic memo or leaking it or something, but they're saying they're using this hashtag release the transcripts. Release the transcripts. Now, there could be a real problem about this that they don't think about. Some people are making this new hashtag. I don't really like Twitter, but sometimes there's some funny shit on it. They're saying, in Adam Schiff's memo, that's the hashtag. Hashtag in Adam Schiff's memo, the names of every kid in school called him headlamps, high beams, or Popeye. Excellent diss. So they're complaining that they didn't get their memo released, even though they waited a week to produce a memo for it to even be released. So they're a week behind. What do they want? They have to go through the same process. It's a legal process that is, it was complied with by the Republican side. And you guys know I do criticize Republicans very harshly, by the way. They did comply with that process, and the Democrats are saying, well, we don't want to comply with the process. We want to release our findings. Well, the House said, no, too bad. You have to go through with it, and then we'll release your version. And they're at a disadvantage because they're going to have a whole week where they can't use their own memo to rebut the Republicans unless they do leak it like these people are asking for. Now, what's the problem with release the transcripts? Can anybody say in the chat? Let me see here. There's some guys talking about something here. Marching with Tommy Robinson. I like Tommy Robinson. I like him. He's a great guy. People give him a hard time. People give him a real hard time. Can anybody say why releasing the transcripts could be a problem for Adam Schiff? I'll give you 5 seconds. Well, I don't know how long that was, but you got good old Adam Highbeam Schiff. No, that's not the issue, but yeah, absolutely. Tommy Robinson is good, yes. Now, if they release the transcripts for the testimony before that committee that was behind closed doors, what I suspect will happen is that some of the testimony will reveal, as was already shown in some Senate hearings, that in reality these intelligence operatives, they know that they don't have any evidence against Trump, and it will be revealed that a lot of what they have is only based on the dossier, which has already been testified by, or it's been stated by James Comey that it's basically garbage. I mean, I'll find James Comey is the former director of the FBI. If you don't know, you should know by now. And James Comey's been kind of busy in the past few days. I mean, there's a Forbes article from June where he says that the dossier isn't credible. Okay, it's not credible. So there's an issue there where, um, that if they decided that this FISA warrant was to be based on a source of information that they did not know was that they knew was not credible, then it's going to look horrible for the FBI and the rest of the intelligence agencies. Now, another issue that I think could come out is that Adam Schiff has been playing poker with the public, because a lot of the crucial testimony that's been happening has not been revealed to the public. It's been behind closed doors because the FBI makes up, some reason. Oh, we can't talk about this in front of the American people. We could compromise this asshole or this bitch or something. So he's been playing poker with the public, because it was revealed last year that Donald Trump is not really being investigated, so to speak, by the Mueller probe yet. He's been considered. Some of his people have been under investigation with regards to connections with Russia during the campaign, but him personally, there has been no connection. And I think what will be revealed is that even in their own testimony before the committees, some of these these FBI sources will probably testify that no, we don't have information that Paul Manafort, for example, one of the indicted people, we don't. They'll probably say, oh, we actually don't have information that he cooperated with Russia during the campaign. Okay, or this George Papadopoulos, there could be testimony from the FBI revealing, well, with all due respect, even though he lied to the FBI, we don't think he really had any substantial contact with Russia that could be considered criminal. And then there's Michael Flynn. They could say that there will be, in my opinion, evidence shown that there was testimony revealing that a lot of Schiff's assertions in public that, oh, we have stuff and we know that we're getting closer and there is something to show that there's a possibility that this happened and that Russia did seriously affect the course of the election. Well, if testimony shows that a lot of his innuendo was actually based on a lie, that there were people saying, oh no, these people actually were not involved with Russia, that as far as we can tell, we have no evidence or something. If law enforcement states that, then he's really in a bind, because he will have been telling a lie, not just to the media, but in effect to all the Democratic voters in the country. For the past year. Gabriel Swift, have you been following Q? I guess technically, but I have a day job. I'm sorry, but some of this Q stuff, I probably am following it technically, but through other people. So if you have questions for this, I'm not the best person to answer. I admit it's probably fascinating, but I sometimes don't even know what it means. So. I guess Lionel Nation, he talks about it. Jerome Corsi talks about it a lot. I have to sometimes play catch up, because during the day I can't be doing the stuff that I'm doing right now. I have to wait until at least 5 o'clock. Sometimes I stay late at work too. And then depending, I have a martial arts class that I take. So sometimes I get home only in the evening. And then I have to play catch up with a lot of the stories, and the QAnon stuff. The QAnon stuff is very interesting, but remember, I follow a lot of stories that have nothing to do with U.S. domestic politics. They actually, for example, all the stuff in Latin America. I've been trying to do a lot of stuff relating to the Brazil situation where their president was convicted. But that stuff, it takes time to inquire with people. There's all sorts of interviews I want to do. So the Q stuff, there are people that have really good in-depth knowledge, and I'd have to refer you to them. Could I get more attention doing that? Sure, probably. But I do a lot of the Clinton conspiracy stuff. I do plenty of things like that. But I guess I have my limit as far as how much time and effort I can put into that. Pinochet was born in Poland. Wow, that's interesting. Anyway, not the real Pinochet, our user Pinochet. So, or not, were you born in Poland? I don't know. I'm just following you guys are having like a totally different conversation there in the chat. Chris Jones says, I got home 8 hours ago. I'm still working. Good for you. So, the Schiff fear is that some aspect of this constructed facade that he's been telling to the media will come crashing down and bring everything else with it. Remember, what is their whole premise? Their premise is that Donald Trump did something. He did something that was illegal. And we're going to find out what it is through this Mueller probe. And, and they keep having to say Russia. And they're hoping that at one point it stops having to be about Russia and it gets into a different crime, similar to what happened with President Clinton. Originally it was about Whitewater land deals. Eventually it flowed into some other stuff like the Filegate and various, I guess Waco technically. And, eventually it got to the stained jizz dress. And that's all it ended up being. I mean, there were plenty of things along the way that he could have been convicted of, like Chinagate, which, by the way, I'm hoping to do another video this weekend. I hope some of you already saw that. The link is below. But they don't want this probe to be just about Russia. They want to nail him for a different crime that they can convict him with. Yes, obviously, if there was a crime connected to Russia with Donald Trump, they would be thrilled to take him out for. But because there's such a polarized electorate right now, they would take anything. They would take him for tax evasion. They would take him for any crime. Obviously sexual assault. So anyway, he's looking at this memo expose, and I'm assuming that he read it, and he knows that first of all, these defendants may be exonerated because if you see that the FBI began their investigation under a false pretense of following up on an intelligence tip that they themselves believed was not credible, that would be a huge, huge blow to the investigation itself, to the FISA memo, to the surveillance. Also, the surveillance. More people have been talking about that. And I've talked about it a bit, but not so much today. Yes, that would be a huge story because it would show that the government and the DNC concocted this, elaborate plot using all sorts of intermediaries, such as John McCain and Perkins Coie, this law firm, in order to pass along information and then money in return to Fusion GPS, and also somewhere down the line to the Russians, who were the source of whatever this is from Russia. So this information, whatever it is, came from Russia, but it can't be corroborated. And whoever produced this information got the money. That's Fusion GPS. Now Fusion GPS produces this document. Some Fusion GPS personnel have contact with people in the Department of Justice, such as this Bruce Orr character, possibly Strzok himself. Whether Andrew McCabe, the recently resigned deputy director of the FBI, was involved may come out. We don't know yet. There could be more evidence that hasn't been revealed. If there was somebody, there were claims that there was by the Senate committee that there was somebody in some of these meetings that is now willing to snitch on the McCabe cabal. Yeah, that could be huge. This could be a revelation that there was a coordination between people. There was a pipeline from Russia through Fusion GPS, through Perkins Coie, through the FBI, and also Fusion GPS talking directly with the FBI and the Department of Justice, with the DNC passing money through to generate an investigation, and that would be an illegal act. And then you start to ask, how high does it go? Because that's almost like, you have the tree. There's the branches that come out. They're the less important appendages of the tree, and then you have the stalk. Not the stalk. What is it called? The tree trunk. Sound like a retard here, but so listen. So how far closer to the tree trunk do you get? The center of the tree trunk is who? President Obama. So you have all this other bizarre activity going on during this whole period with the unmaskings and just letting leaks. There have been proven leaks, by the way. Dick Morris actually read. For those of you that don't watch Dick Morris for whatever reason, I'm telling you, check out some of his stuff. Some of it's a little boring. He's a little old-fashioned and kind of a neocon to some degree. Pinochet, check out Dan Bongino's podcast. Absolutely, Dan Bongino probably much cleaner and smoother delivery than what I'm telling you. But I've given you a couple other perspectives that are mine. Where was I? So you're getting closer to the tree trunk. Where does that nexus come in? Where you have some of these FBI higher ups cooperating with people from Susan Rice to this Sally Yates character at the Justice Department. Remember, she was Attorney General for a few days in January. Now, this was during the whole leak crisis and everything. Now, she was fired pretty quickly for an idiotic decision not to enforce the Trump travel ban in the meantime. If she would have just complied with it, she would have bought a couple more days until Jeff Sessions would have been confirmed. And then, she could have probably caused a little more damage like she wanted to. But then she became a national figure. So if there are more revelations of these acts of intelligence sabotage and using surveillance powers illegally and deliberate intent to sabotage the new administration based on no evidence, then this is going to be an earth-shattering tremor. This memo. It could be the start. And that's why I'm saying, why should he be afraid of release the transcripts? Because the memo is just you ever get like a soup that's like a day old, and the surface of the soup hardens into a skin. Well, that's what the memo is. And once you pierce that and you get into the transcripts, if the transcripts are released, then the more details come out, in my mind, it damages Adam Schiff's position because I don't believe that within all of that testimony that there's actual evidence of wrongdoing by Donald Trump, because I think that they would probably indicted more people, first of all, and people for more direct crimes of whatever you call it, collusion or that's a funny comment for Floyd and Pink. Which one oh, you're talking about this one. Yeah, you're right. Here, I put a bookmark in it. It's now closed. And I'm putting it in the connection selection. Okay. Happy? All right. Is everybody cool? I know people on the Anthony show, they complain about the bookshelf, but the bookshelf isn't changing anymore. You know, I have these crappy CDs behind me too. They don't belong there either. So where was I? Yes, the testimony. If you release the full transcripts, that's worse than the memo for Adam Schiff, because then you get to see in the actual words of the witnesses, you know, the lack of evidence, and sometimes probably admissions of wrongdoing that they didn't think would become public. Remember, Comey testified a number of times behind closed doors. So I'm hoping at a certain point that gets released, and then I believe that ultimately, in order for there to be real reform, he says, is that a check gas mask on the lower shelf? No, this happens to be an Edmonton Oilers hat, but it's too small on me, so I never wear it. I ordered it by mistake, and I was going to give it to my cousin. So mystery solved. Anyway, we're going to close for tonight, but I think that after release the memo, yes, release the testimony could become trending, and what's sad is that it could, I mean, it started out on the Democratic end because they're saying, oh, the memo is just a bunch of selective editing. You know, it's like James O'Keefe, you know, he selectively edits footage. So we'd like the full transcripts. Well, the full transcripts will probably be even worse for Adam Schiff's case. So right now that some of these people are saying release the transcripts, but I believe at a certain point that's going to end up backfiring on them even worse than release the memo. So good night, Larry, Chris. You can see Larry's very excited tonight. Pinochet, Floyd and Pink, Gabriel Swift. Thanks for tuning in again. Sweet Speaks. Good to see you. Haven't seen you that often on this, but you know, you're welcome to join, and please share this stream if you guys can with your friends. Homura. Who else? I think I got all of you. Those of you that I didn't, Joseph Stalin also, who can forget him, you know. Well, the New York Times can forget him. But anyways, have a great night. We'll talk again probably maybe Saturday night. I don't know yet. I have other projects I want to work on, you know, but I like doing this. If I wasn't doing this, I would probably be watching Lethal Weapon 2 right now. But, you know, there's a lot going on, so why miss it? Have a great night, and see you later.